Hey, thanks for being here. My name is Manny, and this is Manny Studio, where we make music, talk about music, and whatever else I freaking fill my days with. It's been a while since I first decided to go study music, and I've somehow been doing it long enough to now be studying towards a doctorate degree. After all this time, I've noticed a lot about the institutionalization of the arts that has never really made sense to me, so I decided to make a video about it. Here's 5 things you never learn in music school. Okay, so especially coming from a classical background, there seems to be this idea that because you play classical music, you're inherently better because your music is the most amazing and difficult thing that requires so much. Nobody cares. The institution kind of creates this idea that this is the end all be all and we have to love it or get out. The thing is, everyone has different musical tastes and backgrounds, and not one is more valid than the next one. There's way too much elitism in classical music, and there's no need for it. It just ends up stifling the creation of some really amazing art. In my experience, there's so many times that I want to pursue a creative project but didn't think it was worth dedicating the time to because I had more serious projects to pursue that I was getting graded on. And while I learned so much from the academic institution, I really wish I would have done some of those projects. And I'm kind of trying to make up for it now. And I'm starting to learn that music is endless and there's so much we could explore and there's so many fun sounds to make. I guess that's kind of why I'm making this video. I'm just tired of hearing people say they wish they could explore something really cool but just didn't have the time for it, when you could probably do an hour less of scales and just mess around on Ableton. Okay, so music is not a meritocracy. I can't really remember when, but at some point, someone made it pretty clear that if you just sit in a practice room and work really hard and practice 8 hours a day and have no social life, then all the good things will happen and you'll have a Carnegie Hall debut pretty much immediately, and it's going to be amazing. Obviously, that doesn't happen. If you do want to book me for Carnegie Hall, though, my info is below. Because really, it doesn't work that way. You don't just get a job or get the gig because you practice more hours than the next person. So many times I see musicians have a really unhealthy relationship with their practice sessions and they just spend all day in that room until they burn out. A lot of times people don't even realize that all the work they're doing is having a negative effect because they're just burning out and sounding worse each and every time. This is definitely something I suffered a lot from, and it took me quite a while to develop a healthy routine with my instrument, but I think for once I'm having the most fun I've ever had playing guitar, and it's because I'm truly doing what I want to do. You need to live life. You need to go to the shows and meet people outside of your conservatory. There's so much music out in the world to discover and collaborate on, so many different art forms and artists to collaborate with. Also, please don't do the mistake of your only concerts being your student recitals. You work so hard on your music and it deserves to be heard. All I'm saying is that there's a reason why we all started playing music, and it wasn't just to sit in a practice room all day long. It was to connect and make music together. This is a tough one. In my experience, profs usually have your best interest in mind and just want to see you improve. But it's also really important as a student to realize that right and wrong are very subjective concepts. When someone gives you a piece of advice, especially in this industry, it's really important to ask yourself, is this person doing anything remotely close to what I want to be doing with my art? If not, then their advice probably won't be helping you all that much. Obviously, there's a ton of exceptions to this, but I'm talking more in the context of when you're making a certain art form that doesn't align with what the structure you exist in wants you to make. There's also the other side of the coin where sometimes as a student, we don't always see the full idea of where our prof is trying to take us. And because of our lack of experience compared to them, we can't really understand the full picture yet. When it comes down to it, if you're lucky enough to know the type of art you want to make and know what brings you joy in this creative process, then you should go for that. And no one should tell you whether that's right or wrong, regardless if there's a difference in genre, tradition, or musical output. Okay, so this is a really big one for me because I come from a performance degree background, and apparently, when you do a performance degree, there's absolutely no chance of you ever having the will or capability to compose a piece of music. So they make it really hard to take composition lessons. At least in my experience, it's been really hard to get composition lessons. And when you're not a composition major, it kind of makes it difficult for people to take your work seriously because you're just kind of viewed as this performer that wrote down notes on. It's all that's isn't that what composing is? Isn't that what that is? Anyway, I digress. What I'm trying to say is you can't categorize someone's artistic interest. If you feel an idea inside of you that you really want to pursue, then you owe it to yourself to dedicate time to that idea and see it come to life. I understand why we have these roles of this person is an interpreter, performer, and there's the composer, and you have the conductor. I understand why these things are important. However, I don't really think there's a valuable basis in telling people they're not allowed to compose because they're not a composition major. I think we all have the ability to write music, and if we just give it some time, anyone would get good. Okay, this is an obvious one. When you go to music school, you're pretty much studying the same music over and over again. Yes, you do it through different contexts and perspectives, but it's the same composers over and over again, and it's getting a little stale. It took me going to my master's degree to finally talk about a composer who wasn't an old white guy, or Clara Schumann. They always just throw Clara Schumann in there and be like, that's our diversity quota. But come on. I've had so many people on different occasions tell me that the reason why we don't play music by black composers on guitar is because no black composer wrote for guitar. Anyway, whether you went to music school or not, I'd really love to hear your opinion about all of this. So make sure to leave a comment below and let's start a conversation. If you're watching this video and you made it this far, I really appreciate you. I'm really trying to grow this channel. So if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to be notified when I make more videos.